So we're going to walk through one of the most common goals that we see for young families, and that's buying a new home. Buying a new home can be a life-altering decision, not only from a financial standpoint, as it's one of the largest purchases that we make throughout our lives, but also from a lifestyle standpoint. That new home could have a lot in it or around it that can make our family's lives much better. What we're going to do is we're going to run through just an example family here. We're going to describe their situation, describe the type of home that they're looking for, and we're going to run through the process of thinking about this goal and planning for funding this goal. But before we do that, I want to be crystal clear that as you go through this process of purchasing a new home, we want to make sure that you're buying the new home for the right reasons. Purchasing a primary residence or a residence that you live in is not an investment. So keep that in mind. So when you factor in, so that the housing values that you've seen over the past couple years are not ordinary. Over decades and decades, home values have increased by about the rate of inflation. And when you add in property tax, maintenance and renovations, the interest on your mortgage, and homeowners insurance premiums, it tends not to be a great investment. So just keep that in mind and make sure that you're buying the house for the right reason, and that's a lifestyle decision to make. So without further ado, let's jump into just the example family that we'll run through this process with. All right, so our example family here is Eric and Donna Foreman. You might recognize them. They're 32 years old, they're excelling through their careers, and they have one daughter, Leia, who's 2 years old, but they also plan on, they would like to have more children in the near future. So Eric's involved in the horse racing industry, and he has an opportunity in Lexington, Kentucky, of all places, to further his career, but the opportunity doesn't open up for another year. So we've got 1 year to plan for this. They purchased their first house 5 years ago at about $200,000. They put 10% down on the house. They put 20 grand down, and it's worth about $250,000 today. So it's about a $50,000 gain in value over the past 5 years for them. So Eric and Donna sat down, as we recommended, and made a wish list of things for the new house that they don't already have in their current home. So this is really key. These are the things that are going to genuinely improve their family's lives. So number one, as you can see, their family is growing in size, and so they want a bigger house. They want 3,000 plus square feet. Number two, they want a basement for their kids to be able to play in and make memories in. Number three, they want a house built in 2000, so they don't want to worry about old pipes or old plumbing or whatever it might be, or old infrastructure. So they want a house that's built a little bit newer. Number four, they plan on staying there for a while, so they want their kids to go to a solid school district with high ratings. All right, so the first thing we'll do is we'll go to Zillow or Redfin or Realtor.com with Donna and Eric, and what we're really trying to do here is we're trying to come up with an estimate for the total cost of the house, as well as some other data points here, because at the end of the day, we need a point B to try to plan for, because if we don't have that, we don't know exactly what the next step should be. So the best place to do that is someplace like a Zillow, and we can look at the wish list that Donna and Eric had, and we can actually filter on all four of these things here in Zillow. So that's exactly what we did here. We looked at a house that's at least 3,000 square feet. It's built in 2000 or later. It has a basement, and we also have a school rating here of 8+, 8 out of 10. So we've hit on all four of these, and all we're trying to do is trying to figure out what a good average price would be for these types of homes for Eric and Donna. So Eric and Donna will go through this and decide, okay, well, this house looks great. This is kind of what we're looking for. Maybe not this one. And we'll come up with a good estimate here. So just for simplicity purposes, we've got about 11 houses here, and about the average price is about 600 grand or so. So we'll use that for our goal estimate here. So that's all we really need at this point. We're not trying to shop for any houses at this point. But the other thing that Zillow also has, if you go down to the price and tax history, you can actually see the property taxes that the owner of this house paid in the past. So in 2020, these property taxes were $4,484, and so we can just say that the property taxes grew by about 5% a year since then, and we can use that as an estimate for our monthly payment as well. So if you look here, we've done exactly that. So we've got a $600,000 purchase price, and we'll say that the property taxes are now close to $5,000 a year, which is about $412 monthly. And then the homeowner's insurance, we just used about a 0.7% of home value as a homeowner's insurance premium there, and it can vary depending on where you're at and the type of house and all the material involved. But for simplicity purposes, that's what we're going to use. So you can see here we've got a good estimate of just the data points that we'll need to plan for here at this point. So the next step I would complete here is just go to bankrate.com and go to their mortgage calculator, which is a great tool to use. And we can actually plug in all of our data at this point. What we're trying to see is what the monthly payment is going to be once they purchase this house. Because at the end of the day, when you buy a home, there's a balance between the down payment on the house and the monthly payments. When one goes up, the other goes down, and vice versa. So we are trying to strike the perfect balance for Eric and Donna when we consider kind of all their other goals and the flexibility that they want in their house. So what we did here was we plugged in $600,000 for the home price, and then we plugged in a 20% down payment, which is really important because this is their second home. We knew that they put 10% down on their first home, so they're used to paying a private mortgage insurance, which is this PMI right here. Anytime that you put less than 20% down, you're required to pay a PMI, which is an additional cost every month. So we would like to try to avoid that in the second home, since they're going to have some equity from their old house that they can roll into the new one. So we plugged in a 20% down payment. That's going to be about $120,000 that they'll need for the down payment in 1 year. And then we plugged in about a market interest rate of about 6%. And we plugged in that property tax number that we came up with from Zillow, and then homeowners insurance of like I mentioned, 0.7% of the purchase price annually. And so the total monthly payment here is $3,639. So what does that look like compared to what their current cash flow situation is right now? That's what we're trying to get to. What's going to need to change for their situation to be able to get to the point where they want. All right, so this is the Foremans' current cash flow situation in their current state. They make over about $17,000 a month. That's about $200,000 of total household income before taxes. So they're making a healthy amount at this point. And when you think about your cash flow situation, there's really only 4 buckets that you can use for your cash. So you either pay taxes with it, you spend it, you pay down debts, or you save it or invest it. No matter what you do, usually it falls in those 4 buckets. So for the Foremans, you can see that they spend about $6,000 a month just on lifestyle expenses. They spend about $2,500 a month on debt payments. They've got a 25% effective tax rate here, and then so whatever's remaining, they have about $4,000 of savings or investments here. So when we think about the financial health of the Foremans, and when it comes to purchasing a home, we primarily look at 3 different ratios here. So number 1, and I think the most important ratio, is the savings rate. Savings rate is the amount that you save or invest every month and divided by your pre-tax income for the month. So you can see that they've got a 24% savings rate, which is a very healthy savings rate. A high savings rate like that will give us basically ultimate flexibility to make a decision like this, as well as it'll allow us to be a little bit more aggressive on our goals at that time. Number 2 would be our debt to income ratio, which is your total debt payments divided by your pre-tax income. So $2,500 here divided by the $16,000. That's about 15%. So that's still really low. And then their housing ratio, which is their house payment divided by their pre-tax income. So kind of stripping out just the house payment there, it's at 9% of their pre-tax income. So we can see here on the right side, we've got goals here. So we want the savings rate above 15%, 15% or greater, debt to income ratio under 35%, and housing ratio under 25%. Anytime you get near those limits, you start to see some yellow or red flags here, and we might need to make some adjustments. So let's plug in this new house payment and see what it does to our ratios here. So instead of $1,500, it increases by $2,139 a month. So that's gonna make a big difference to these ratios. However, we're still underneath in terms of the debt ratios here. We're still underneath the limit, and then our savings rate's at 11%. So you can see the savings rate's less than the 15%. However, we know that over time, the Foremans incomes will increase over time. Now, if Donna or Eric decided that they wanted to take a sabbatical for a few years to spend time with their kids, for example, we might want to think twice about moving into a house of this caliber in terms of the expense, because at the end of the day, when you cut your income by 40%, 50%, whatever it might be, your ratios start to really go into that red territory. So just something we might want to consider here, or we might want to delay the house a couple years to be able to put more of a house down payment in there. So everything looks good from a cash flow standpoint here for the Foremans for the new house payment, as long as we have that $120,000 down payment. So another assumption we have to make through this process is that their current home, like I mentioned, is $250,000. Let's just say that the projected mortgage balance in 1 year is going to be $160,000, and that the expenses involved in selling their current home is about 6% of the home value, so it's about $15,000. So that means the net proceeds from selling their current home will be about $75,000. And so the gap there that we need between the $120,000 down payment and $75,000 proceeds from the current home is about $45,000, and they need to come up with that over the course of the next year. And so obviously, if they've been working with us for a while, we likely would have some sort of liquid or cash equivalent account that they've been building on just as a flexibility account for times like these, so you don't have to start from scratch. But let's just say they're starting from scratch. So we know in their current cash flow situation that they're saving or investing $4,000 total. So I'll bring this back to their current situation. So they got $4,000 total that they're saving or investing. So if you just add that up over 12 months, even if the account that we're talking about yielded 0%, they'd have $48,000. However, we know that most likely part of the $4,000 is their 401k that they might get a match on. So we definitely don't want to make sure that they're taking all of their savings and investing bucket and putting it towards the house down payment, because they might be foregoing their 401k match. So another thing to keep in mind too is that if you have a goal within a year, we definitely don't want to subject the funding for that goal to any sort of market risk, because we don't have any time to make up for any losses in the account, because obviously our goal is within a year. So we definitely don't want to subject it to any market risk. And so usually within a year, we'd recommend an interest-bearing account, and high-yield savings account are actually yielding historically high interest rates right now. So that might be, the option that we use for this. But going back to the 401k, what we might want to say is, depending on their 401k matching, we might want to say, let's lower the 401k contributions down to take full advantage of the company match still, and then let's just say that's $1,000 a month that's going into that, maybe $2,000. Well, that means that we might need to cut back on some lifestyle expenses. This is a thorough process where we kind of go through and just keep take a close eye on certain expense categories and ways that we can find the cheaper alternative for those. But that would be the kind of the process we'd go through for that. But we want to make sure that at the end of 12 months from now, we have $45,000 in a cash account or a cash equivalent account without any sort of loss or risk of loss at that point. So that's kind of the strategy that we take with this sort of goal that's within a year. So thanks for watching our video. If you enjoyed this type of content, you can head on over to millennialfp.com to learn more about what we can offer to millennial families and how we can help them understand, take control of, and put meaning behind their money decisions. You can also go to the Learn tab to submit your own question that we can take a shot at answering in an upcoming video. Thanks again for watching.